It's scary. Yes. Nice answer. Huh? It
India.
won't work in India, but still we are looking from a technical perspective here. That's already, yes. I will take the answer. Next.
It's able to navigate that seagull on the road.
Oh, yes. Yes. So in the interest of time, I'll just move ahead. So in this video, apart from other functions and features, this video represented or it showcased the usage of autonomous technology in action. For instance, there was a bird in between the road and the car detected it as an object and it immediately slowed down without any user input. Now this kind of proactive, independent decision making is the key example of agentic AI in real world use. So this is our topic of discussion, agentic AI, and we'll see some of the points that we as technical writers can step in. So why agentic or how agentic AI is different from others? So unlike your traditional generative AI, where completely it relies on the human prompts and responses, agentic AI is autonomous. I need not say, being all the technical writers, what is the meaning of autonomous. So it is autonomous and it is goal-driven. It operates for a goal. That means these aren't just chatbots. They can plan, they can make decisions, they can act, and they can collaborate. And they can also learn from the experiences without human intervention or minimal human intervention. So, if AI is autonomous, then where is this collaboration between the human or the machine, or how does it matter? Because, as we know, AI does not understand the human nuances, the tones, some of the real world scenarios, or the consequences, like how we humans do or communicate. So now, this is where we step in, not only to document, but to document or design the behavior. So when I say that as a technical writer, we have to scale up. We are already doing the work. So we have to scale up to bridge this language gap between the human and the machine.
Yeah, so now that Thanuja has explained about what agentic AIs are, let's take a quick example of a real-time example how this agentic AI works, more simpler one, and which is a little bit more familiar to us, I guess. It will be relatable. So imagine an incident where you as a user would want to return something that you've ordered, and you have to do this return process through a customer care chatbot, right? So this customer chatbot interaction, usually we interact with humans, right? What if it is automated and you have to interact with this customer care chatbot? You as an end user will provide some input, something like, I want to return, maybe say a headphone that you have bought last week, right? So this return process, actually, when you are returning a product, what is your mindset basically? You are either the product is not working for you, or it might not have served its purpose, right? So that is the goal of it. And to some point of time, when you are reaching this customer care chatbot, it's basically like you have tried everything and then you're trying to return it, right? So you might exactly not be in the happy mood kind of thing. You might be a little annoyed or frustrated, right? And you get a reply from this, highly intelligent chatbot, something like, initiating return process. Please wait, return label created. Refund in 5 to 7 business days, right? So, what do you think? Anybody from the crowd? How is this response? Anybody? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Satisfactory response, is it? Okay. Okay.
It's robotic.
Yes.
Without emotion.
Yes. Okay. Great answers. Anybody else? Any other answers?
It didn't validate the product, whether it can be returnable or
It lacks
That is a new one.
compassion.
Huh?
It lacks compassion.
Yes. Great answers. I think this all includes what I am, I meant to show with this example. So let's look at this response. So was it functionally correct? Yes, right. It gave you all the data, all the steps and everything, right? Was it helpful? Yes, right? But as human beings, right, when you're interacting with human beings, you have that human touch, right? So do you see that here? Like somebody said, compassion and empathy, right? You cannot connect with the AI directly, right? So this response is something like very robotic, as if this AI is processing you like any other ticket or a incident, right? So how do we as users feel when we are process something like this? And especially taken your note that you're annoyed, you won't take it very lightly, right? I mean, it might reduce your confidence level, thus also affecting your trust. You don't want to go back to that tool again, right? You would rather call a customer care number and interact with the end user. So what is the heart of the problem over here basically that we see is that lack of empathy. That's the main point that I wanted to showcase here. Lack of empathy in the response of the bot, right? This lack of empathy could also reduce the confidence of the users. The user experience goes down, which also inadvertently affects the trust factor somewhere, and ultimately business, right? They may not come back to it. So that could also be a reason. So how we as technical writers can come into picture in this AI ecosystem, right? So here is where we come into picture. Just imagine tweaking this response very mildly with maybe a change in tone or voice, right? Saying maybe if the AI responded something like, don't worry, we will take care of this. I have created a return request for you, and the return label is generated. And let me know if you want help with printing the return label, right? So how does this response sound? It sounds more human, right? And this is where we as technical writers actually put in our effort in modifying how the AI interacts with the end users, right? It has more empathy to it. It is more kind, right? Ultimately, what we want to show in this example is it's not just that we are interacting with the AI, but we also want to make this AI sound empathetic and kind also. Like we don't want the users to think that they are talking to AI or a robot. Instead, to a human being itself, right? That gives you the ultimate user experience. I know it's not completely doable, but to some extent, we as technical writers can always help with this. So we all know that traditionally we as technical writers have been writing a lot of content for end users like manuals, guides and stuff like that, right? And simplifying very complex systems for them, right? Nowadays, do you see that? No, right? We are already moving, or we are already seeing that evolution, that we are moving away from writing just end user documents. Like we saw in the previous example, we are also trying to design how the AI interacts with the end users, right? The whole workflow stuff like that. And how and what is the intent? How empathetic can it be? So we are trying to move away from the traditional role of technical writers and evolving into something else, right? That is even, I would state, maybe shaping the AI personalities, giving that AI that tone, that voice, and even the way it might interact with the end users, right? So it is not just the tone and voice, I would say, like we saw in the previous example. Ultimately it will go to design trust as well. How do you gain trust of the users, end users? So that's where we are going. So nowadays it does not just end at what we write, but also why we write, and our growing responsibility towards drafting the AI responses more ethically, more empathetically, and also in a trustworthy manner, I would say. So how many of you are already working on AI and are already seeing this evolution in your roles in the different companies that you are in? Okay, anything to add over here? I would be happy to hear something different also. Anybody wants to add on, like how you have seen this evolution?
So going with the same customer support example, what we have seen in our company is, let's say 10 different people, they report the same issue, but they are using 10 different words. An agentic AI can detect that the root cause of this issue is the same thing, even if the customers are using different words to report the same issue. In that sense, it's very autonomous and it's able to recognize complexities. I just want to add that.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to add anything?
So I'm looking at the evolution part of it. We are still in this human-oriented way of looking at things. So we think machine has to be human. Machine's response should be empathetic, humanly possible and all that. Over a period of time, I think we will all be trained to accept it. If it is blunt, we'll be trained to accept it.
Yeah.
I think that is how it is going to evolve.
That is a good point. It also depends on different scenarios, right? In which industries you are in.
Correct.
In IT, it might be very technical, so it is okay to be blunt.
Yeah.
But when you are working with medical fields or some other fields, it might be that
Yes.
they want a little more empathetic thing. So it depends on each field, I would say. Right. So thank you for all your inputs. Great questions also. And let's now see that we talked in the previous slide about the evolution of our roles, right? Now let's see how we are also diversifying into other streams, not just into writing, right? So with agentic AI, we also see certain other areas that we as technical writers can venture into, right? At least with our personal experiences, what we have listed here, that is from the way we work in our organizations. But this list, what we have here, could vary depending on your particular organizations, on the different product areas that you people work on, and you could add more to this list actually. So the first thing is, like, as reviewers, right? We are also evolving as reviewers. So we are acting as gatekeepers or validators of these, AI responses basically. And most importantly, we are fact checking them. So we should have an editorial mindset in order to venture into this arena of being reviewers of AI responses. I'm not going into technical details of this, just a high level overview of where we can venture into. The other field is about information architecture. So this is also a very, booming field where we can, get involved in building content flows that are not one size fits all, I would say, right? We can come up with persona-based, role-based experiences, how the, content can adapt based on how the user interacts with the AI. For example, if the AI responses for a very naive user or a first-time user could be very different from how it responds to a seasoned user for the same product or something like that. So that is where we come into picture in the information architecture point of view. The other area that we also usually see is as collaborators. Collaborators, you might all think that we are already doing that, right? We are already doing that with a lot of other teams in our development, other roles like dev roles and dev managers. We are collaborating with them. But how about thinking of AIs as creative partners, maybe automating certain processes in our technical writers process itself, where there are repetitive tasks, maybe using AIs over there, and maybe we can get better formatted, structured content, giving us more time to do some other things as, writers, right? So these are the main things that we could come up with respect to, agentic AI workflows we are looking at, where we can venture into. So whether we are reviewers, architects, or collaborators, we all know that right now we are not just doing the age-old technical writers role, right? We are all diversifying into different streams, right? So now that we have seen that about evolution of our technical writer's role and how it is diversifying in this age of digital environment, how do we keep updated? How do we upskill ourselves to thrive in this environment, right? So we have jotted out some of the very common areas that we can upskill in. First is, as you all know, AI literacy. And this I would not say at a very high level, but an understanding of how language models work, right? What are their strengths? What are their pain points? And what is their thinking pattern basically, right? How do they think? How do they come to a conclusion? So that we can come up with better prompts, maybe also even better responses with particular intent related to it, right? The other thing is, with that comes also is ethics. So we are not writing or working with words anymore, right? We are also designing how the AI interacts with the end users. So ethical awareness is also a must for us, because we need to understand if the AI responses are inclusive or not biased, or are they safe. So we need to understand that. So at that point, we as technical writers also need to be well aware of what are the ethics around AI, right? So the next topic would be about data literacy. So we saw Karuna's presentation earlier about data, right? So being data driven is one. You need to understand how data tools work, yes, but how does AI use it? When it comes to agentic AI, basically, it works with different tools. It uses these data from different tools to come up to a particular conclusion. So how does it use this data to come to a particular conclusion? How does it interact with this data, derive this data, right? So those are areas where we can upskill ourselves. And the other thing is, now that we are writing both for the end users as well as the AI, we not only focus on the tone, voice, or the responses, but also we need to train the AI responses, right, for particular intent. How is it responding to the users, right? So there also we can encompass a lot of areas over there, which could be UX writing, which could be structured authoring as well, right? So these are all areas where we can upskill ourselves. And finally, most important thing, as we started, empathy, right? The whole empathetic thing of getting the empathy in the AI responses. That's where we are looking at. That we need to train these AIs to be more empathetic, whether it is guiding the users through some complex processes or just giving some answers to the users. It should sound not only smart but also a bit of kind, right? So this is where we are going. These were some of the points that we wanted to pick up over here.
So in interest of time, let me quickly summarize the other next of the slides. So some of the points that we are highlighting. So we also want to talk about the opportunities and the perils that are associated with agentic AI. So opportunities, definitely everybody knows that why we use AI, that's for automation. So beyond automation, what is more empowering is personalization. So when we say personalization, just imagine if you have the content that adapts in real time for different users. Obviously that is empowering. Now let me talk a little bit about the perils. So what is the perils? Just like Diana she was explaining a while ago. So AIs hallucinate and they predict, they don't understand. And any prediction without responsibility does more harm than good. So when it predicts, that means it also will spread misinformation, it will give you biased or it can replicate biased data. Obviously we are speaking about the tone and the context, which it cannot do like the humans or the communicate. So we as technical writers or information architects, not only we will be involved in designing the behavior, but also shaping the voice. Well, when I say shaping of the voice, it would be like what AI responds, how it responds, and when it has to respond, nothing at all. Okay? So this is where we step in, not only to the dialogue, but also the restraint. So with the same thing on this term, so quickly I'll go through one short case study. Okay, there was some content which we had, but I'll take the example of what Diana just spoke about, the headphones, the return of headphones. So we'll just have this case study to focus on some of the pain points or the problems that might arise as we use Agentic AI. And we as technical writers, where can we step in? Okay. One, she already said that if the response is different and if the customer gets confused, that means the AI is not clear. So we can step in to create the documentation which is very clear with clarity, because here we are already writing, I'm again stressing on this point, we are already doing all the work. The clarity that we bring, the trust that we bring between the human and the machine matters. Not only that, the support documentation for support team. Why this AI is behaving like this. There can be technical glitches, there can be bugs. So in that case, we also will come for dev effort, lessen the dev effort if we have a supportive documentation. And also, we can also be the curator for prompt guidelines or prompt might be templates, because standardization of the prompt matters. Everybody will start giving their own prompts and responses might vary. So we can also have, for the problem, have prompt templates. And coming to the UI, I need not say, everybody we know that why UI text and messages matter. And most importantly, which when Diana mentioned about the ethics, the compliance. Of course, if we know about the AI regulations, the ethics or the compliance, if we are describing, we can reduce the escalations, the incidents that arise, and might be finally for the customer, whatever, the satisfaction NPS score might be increased. So the bottom line, I would say that somewhere in this process, we can be the revenue enablers and risk reducers. So with this, okay, Diana, what do you think with all these points, the future prospects for technical writers?
Yeah, Thanuja, as we mentioned earlier, we also gave a good example of the usage of AI, right, with customer care bots, right? So they are guiding customers with a lot of things. Also, we see that AI is being used by students as well in collating their papers, in coming up with certain medical papers where they have to collate a lot of content, I would say. Their AI is also being used. And also, I have heard vaguely that it also is used by caregivers as well. It assists the caregivers in the medical field at some point. So all these things, if you look at, these are all very high-stake environments which are also, emotionally, I think, nuanced, right? So here we need very clear, empathetic and trustworthy communications.
Yes. So somewhere we still feel that we will have an impact and we will have the work in this Agentic AI ecosystem. So that brings the end of our presentation. So we did not have any agenda. We just wanted to share our learnings and have the knowledge and highlight some of the points on technical writing. I'm Thanuja.
And I'm Diana.
So we are from SAP Labs India, and thank you for attending our session and thank you for TWT for providing this opportunity. I don't know if we have time for questions, but we'll be on the floor.
We can take the questions.
Okay. But I also would like to speak in the round. If anybody is already working on Agentic AI, this is a very broad field which is still work in progress, and we have just scratched the surface of it. Might be going ahead, we might see some more presentations on Agentic AI going ahead. But if someone wants to share their knowledge or their experience, if you're already working, yes, we both can learn and reflect together. We would love you to hear from you.
Any questions are also welcome. If possible,
Possible,
we'll
try
answer.
to be to the justice.
Hi, Molina. Audible?
Hi.
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to check or understand from you how have you implemented Agentic AI in your organization for technical writing?
Okay. it's a bit of work in progress in most of the organizations, as we know, right? So we cannot exactly disclose a lot of things. But I wouldn't go into the technical streams of it. But in every stream, I would say, right? I think at SAP we already know that we are upcoming with Joule, right? That's externally, published, right? So there are also workflows which we are trying to implement Joule everywhere, not just the software, but also in testing, but also in technical writing streams as well. So the whole thing starts with cumulative use case. Accumulating use cases. I guess come up with a lot of R&Ds to come up with use cases. Where
Any
we see
broad use case that you can just list?
Okay, maybe I'll add to that point. So we are one of the biggest enterprise product company. So we have a product called SAP BTP, where we are trying to automate without human intervention. That is what the point I said, what is meant by autonomic agentic AI. So we are trying to have minimal human intervention. So we cannot disclose more until it is released publicly. But yes, where with less human intervention, we are trying to automate certain processes.
Sounds very interesting.
And might be you can check out AutoGPT for that, because these are a little bit extension of chatbots. Actually, chatbots are AI agents. Now, agentic AI is a combination of lot of these agents, because you saw the car Waymo. This is just to make you thinking. We are not talking about the car Waymo, but it had lot of sensors. So every sensor it has to grab and it has to do the work. So there are multiple agents. So agentic AI is working with multiple agents, and it's a very broad field.
And I can give you a very hypothetical example if you really need that. Just imagine, I'm just taking the example of terminologies, right? We all have documentations, all have terminologies. Every time you write new documentations, you have to go into and see whether the terminologies are there in place in your publicly available terms, right? So what if we can automate it and say we get an AI agent which could tell, okay, you're writing a new topic, it pulls in everything, it says what is the new terms, and it automatically, if you just have a yes or no thing where you create it from the list, you can maybe check and you create, and it automatically generates, and maybe you can edit it later. It helps so much and saves so much of your time, right? So here there's an interaction with a lot of different tools also, just not where you write, but also with maybe terminology tools where you have a term database also. That's a very common example.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you for being awake. We hope we did not put you to sleep.
Thank you all.